Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Career Focus. Today is my first solo episode since I started this podcast journey earlier this year. And you've heard me talk about in episodes 3 and 5 the importance and possibilities of networking and job searching. And today I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that. More specifically, I'm talking about outreach. So as you're applying to jobs, you're networking and building relationships, it's really important that you get connected to the right folks. But in order for them to respond to you, you have to draft the right message that's going to meet the needs or interests of that person. So I'm going to dive into my foolproof method that's going to lead to more responses as you're doing that outreach. It's also important to know that you can apply this method into a number of different relationship building scenarios. You might be dating, you might be making friends, you might be just getting connected to new and interesting people. Take this as you will, but just know it's generally designed for folks that are job searching and or building a relationship from scratch. Okay, so if you're anything like me, you've probably spent 5 minutes drafting a message and you've gotten into one of two different scenarios. Maybe your page is still left blank, or you've written out every single thought that's come to mind, but now you've got too much for someone to consume. Well, it makes sense, but unfortunately, the same result is you don't really have a message that warrants a response. So lucky for you, I've got a 5-step process into drafting the perfect message for a new connection. Now, there's many stages to relationship building, but let's just assume that for these examples that I share ahead, you do not know this person at all. You've simply found them online. Maybe you've heard their name before, but for some reason, you want to start building a relationship from scratch. Okay, step number 1. You want to show empathy or relatability in your message. This is to help the reader feel special. I'll tell a quick story. A handful of years ago, I was at my company's holiday party. My boss's boss's boss was going around building rapport with people at all levels of the organization. And she went around to me and she was super complimentary. She was actually raving about my success and work ethic and communication skills in front of other people. I felt pretty good. She told me that I had to stick around long enough for her to hand deliver my holiday gift to me in person. I was excited. Guess what that gift was? A crappy pair of socks that honestly I don't even remember too much about, but all I remember thinking was, this is the most boring, basic, non-personalized gift that I've ever been given. In your message to a new connection, you do not want it to resemble that crappy pair of socks that was given to me at that party. So you want to tweak that message a bit to make them feel special and that the message was personalized specifically to them. To help, it's typically a good idea to do some research on that person. You can find information on LinkedIn, sometimes on Google. Check out their recent posts or what articles maybe have been written about them or what they've contributed to. Find out what's interesting, where they live, where they work. All these things can help you craft an easy one-liner at the start of your message. It would probably sound something like this. Hi, Jane Doe. I hope the week's been a good one for you. I know that your company has had lots of ups and downs this year. Or hi, John Smith. I saw your recent post about taking stretch breaks during the day. I'll have to give it a try. Showing that you've done a little bit of research or know a little bit about them, A, piques their interest, and B, it shows emotional intelligence, both of which are easier for them to meet you halfway when building a new relationship. Okay, number 2. You want to tell the reader why you're reaching out. We've all answered the door on a cold calling salesman going door to door trying to sell something. And oftentimes, we know that they're trying to sell something, but our first question is, what are you selling? It's the same idea here. You don't necessarily have to be selling something, but the question that they're going to have as they're reading this note from a stranger is, why are they reaching out? So here's what it might sound like. I was curious if you'd be interested in grabbing coffee sometime soon or meeting on Zoom. Or, I'm curious if you're the right recruiter for this position that I'm interested in. Sometimes the clearer you can be, the more quickly someone is to respond to your note. Number 3, play the learning card. I've said this in previous episodes before, but oftentimes if you put the power in other people's hands, a lot of times they'll be glad to chat with you. Here's what it might sound like. I was hoping to learn more about your career journey and how you got where you are today. Or I'd be interested in learning more about this position and the company that you've been working for the last couple of years. Giving people a chance to talk about something very familiar to them or that they know a lot about makes them feel helpful. Number 4, share next steps and how they can help you get what you're asking them to do. So, for example, let's say you want to meet with someone for coffee, share with them potential coffee shops that you had in mind, or share with them parts of town that you live in that are maybe close to some good coffee shops or meeting places. If you're asking for someone to provide an introduction to someone else, give them tidbits about you that are going to help them make an effective introduction. If you're asking for someone to meet with you, share times that you're available. So that way they're not asking you, hey, when are you free? Give them some target dates and times that are going to make it easier for them to give you what you want. Here's what it might sound like. I live in central Austin, so just about any coffee shop around town works well for me. What's a good spot for you? Or I'm seeing that James is a good recruiter for this position, but maybe you can make an introduction for me. Or I'm available the week of November 1st, primarily in the evenings. Is there a day that works best for you? Being specific with next steps helps that person meet you halfway and ultimately leads to better response because they don't have to think so hard trying to get information from you. Number 5, show gratitude. This can also be number 1 in the 5-step process, but always, always, always show appreciation and gratitude for someone's time and energy. If someone is willing to read your note and especially to respond, you definitely have to appreciate the time and energy that they're giving you. This can be as simple as opening up the message with, thanks so much for taking time to chat with me. Or at the end, thanks very much in advance for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. Showing gratitude is a really great way to showcase empathy and emotional intelligence. And if you don't show it, more than likely, you're not going to get a response. Okay, so as a recap, here are the 5 steps. Showcase empathy or relatability in your message. Tell your reader why you're reaching out. Play the learning card. Share next steps and show gratitude. Here's what it all might sound like. Hi, Jane Doe. I hope things are well. I know it's been a busy time of the year, and I appreciate you reading this note. I was curious if you're the right recruiter for this position that I've applied to. I'd love to learn more about your time at the company and what you expect from someone in this position. I'd be glad to meet with you over coffee or Zoom. Just let me know what works best for you. I'm flexible. Thanks very much for your time in advance. I look forward to hearing from you very soon. Now, barring any character limitations that some platforms might require, feel free to add some pizzazz, show some personality. If you've got a common interest or experience with someone, feel free to point that out. I've mentioned before that I'm a previous student athlete, so anytime I meet a recruiter or new connection that likes sports or was an athlete themselves, I typically play that card, and you also can sell yourself a little bit. Hi there, I see you're the recruiter for this position, and it requires project management experience. I have 6 years, and I would love to share more with you over coffee. Sell yourself a little bit so that you sound really interesting or qualified for this role, which would give them an incentive to respond to you. Ultimately, it's up to you how you draft this message, but if you've never conducted outreach before, you're brand new to job searching or building relationships, hopefully this framework breaks it down into 5 easy steps that are going to help you feel more confident in getting more responses. As always, I appreciate everyone for listening and watching. Hope this has been helpful. Looking forward to putting more content out in the future. Thanks, everyone.